morning everybody, Calm Biker here. Just out for a quick ride by myself. Just a little bit of practice, and I thought I'd record a video because I was reminded of something as I came down this stretch of road. The other day I started a video here and unfortunately it didn't come out very well. I was on my way to Lincoln, and as I headed down there on 70 miles an hour roads with my new helmet set up, I didn't realise that you could barely hear a word I was saying. But I was coming down that little stretch of road and I was being tailgated, and this guy jumps across to the left-hand lane to overtake me on the left. It's in a 40 mile an hour zone. I was doing about 40 miles an hour, and it's, before anybody grumbles, it's one of those places where you're told to get in lane. So I was in the lane for going straight on, he was in the lane then for going left, and he accelerated past me and he was obviously in a hurry. And as he did it, he was paying too much attention to me and not enough attention to the speed camera van. So I assume that by now he's had a letter through the post. I'll show you the clip anyway. Oh dear, somebody just made a mistake. Good morning everybody. I've just finished doing a video about cameras, and there is one. Anyway, the video that I then recorded was about speeding, so I thought I'd talk about it again now, and hopefully I haven't gone on too long in the intro to actually do the bit about the speeding. Something got me thinking about speeding a lot recently. Somebody I know, somebody very close to me, was driving along a road that was a 50 mile an hour road, and I've seen the camera footage with the GPS speedo on it, so I know all these details perfectly. And somebody I know was driving along 50 mile an hour road, and they were doing 49, 50, 51, 50, 49. You know, just generally there or thereabouts on the 50. I'm sure that there are some people who are completely over the top who would say that going 51 is speeding and therefore should be fined and all that. But anyway, as they carried on down this road at 50, they didn't spot, hidden in the trees, two things. The first thing they didn't spot was a 30 miles per hour zone, the sign, because it was hidden in the leaves. The second thing they didn't spot, even more hidden in the trees, was a police speed camera van. One of those manned by volunteers things. And on the video you can see that as they hit the 30 mile an hour zone, they were actually doing 51, 52 miles an hour, and then within a few seconds were slowing down to 30 once they spotted it. And I started to look into what that meant, because at the back of my mind was a bit of a memory that a while back it was on the TV that they were changing the penalties for speeding. So I thought, I wonder what the penalties are, and I kind of started looking into it. And it's made me completely rethink speeding. And I just wanted to explain why. So, it used to be, on average, if you got caught speeding at that kind of speed over, you would get a policeman stop you, a serious ticking off, and you might get a speeding ticket, fixed penalty, which is now 3 points and £100 fine. And for those of you who don't know the rules, once you get to 12 points, in theory your licence is removed, although there are people driving around with a lot more points than that getting away with it, pleading hardship. And the average, if you went to court, which is when the policeman says, no, it's too serious this for you to just be done on a fixed penalty, so I'm going to send you to court. So the average was 3 or 4 points and a fine of £180, which is a kick in the teeth, especially on the points, because that affects your insurance for the next 5 years. But the fine is, to some people, £180 is a lot of money. To a lot of people, £180 is pocket change. So they decided they would start to make it related to your salary with a top limit. I started looking into this for the person who's very close to me. For that person's salary, if they were caught doing in a 30, between 30 and 39 miles an hour, so up to 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, at the lower end of that, the chances are they would get asked to do a speed awareness course, and I've done a video about them in the past. I'll stick a link in the corner if I remember. And they're quite a good thing. That means you don't get any points, you don't get a fine, you have to pay almost the fixed penalty amount anyway, but you don't get the points on your licence, so your insurance shouldn't be affected. You're probably going to get one of them at the low end, and at the high end, at the 38, 39 end, you're probably going to get a fixed penalty through the door. Within 14 days you'll get a letter, notice of intent to prosecute. You say who was driving, you get 3 points, you get your £100 fine, and you hopefully don't do it again. But with the new rules, above 39 in a 30 or above 49 in a 40 and so on, basically above, or 10 miles an hour or more above, it gets now related to your salary. I can't remember the exact percentages, but I'll put them on screen, but it's something like 75% to 125% of your weekly pay, your weekly income. So if you are a low earner, it's probably still going to hurt you more than it would a high earner. Because if you're earning, minimum wage of, full time, that's probably 300 and some pounds a week. Let's call it 400. You could be getting fined £300. You could be getting fined more than £400. That's going to really hurt. If you're earning a lot more than that, then there's a top limit. So the top limit for the fine there is £1,000. If it's on a motorway, it's £2,500. So again, for these really high earners, it's probably not going to hurt them that much at all. But you get 4 points minimum, and you can get up to 6 points. Now that's halfway towards losing your licence at the high end, and a third of the way towards losing your licence at the low end. If you go above 20 miles an hour over, then the fines go up another level. Still with a maximum of £1,000 on the road, 2,500 on the motorway, but now it's 6 points minimum. So now it's definitely halfway towards losing your licence, except that for both of those new bans, the wording has changed. So the wording that was given to the judge before always said this many points and this much fine range, or you could, in extreme circumstances, ban them for up to so many days. Now it's turned around. Now the advice to the judges on the lower one is a ban for between 7 and 28 days, or the points and the fine. For the higher one that the person close to me was looking at, it says a ban of 14 to 56 days, or a fine and points. As I said, the 6 points plus. Now, that I wonder if harsh is the right word, because a ban suddenly takes you into a whole new territory. I mean, the insurance thing, all that aside, they could sort that out easy enough anyway with the points and the codes for the offence and all that kind of thing. So that's kind of by the by. But if you're getting banned for 14 days, that's a real problem for people who need to get to work by car or bike. If you get banned for 56 days, which for 50 miles an hour in a 30 you can do, or for 80 miles an hour in a 60, which lots of people do on a bike. It's a national speed limit on a road like this, doing 80. Lots of people do it. I'm not going to say that I think it's a good plan, but lots of people do it. A ban of 56 days carries with it another punishment. Anything up to 55 days in terms of a ban, basically you don't have to surrender your licence. So you tell the DVLA, or the DVLA get told, you are banned. You have to inform your insurance company, you have to change your insurance because you're no longer covered for driving or riding the thing. And once your, let's say, 55 days are up, on day 56, your insurance should reset automatically. So you've got insurance again, you don't need to worry about that. And you can just jump back on your bike, get back in your car, carry on, because your licence is now back. And when your insurance comes up, they will stuff you. They will absolutely stuff you. But, you take your chances, don't you? 56 days, that doesn't happen. 56 days, you're banned. And after those 8 weeks, you now have to go and do your test again. It's a proper ban. And these type of bans, I mean, these are serious effects. These things potentially mean people lose their income. I understand that they want to crack down on speeding, and I absolutely understand that, riding along at 80 in a 60 is wrong. Though I have been told by a policeman on a safety course for motorcycling that they don't care if you do an 85 and a 60. But don't let a camera catch you, he said. So it's a weird one. This queue of traffic's really spoiling my enjoyment of this 60 miles an hour road. Anyway, the good news for this person is that we are about 4 weeks on and there's no notice of intent to prosecute come through the door. And the rules are that they have to send you the notice of intent to prosecute in such a time that it would be reasonably expected to be delivered within 14 days. You can tell I've looked into this, can't you? So that means if they send it after 14 days, it's not reasonable it would arrive. If they send it after 13 days, special delivery, it is. And if it gets held up in the post, tough. There are other rules as well about if you don't own the car, then that rule doesn't apply. It has to be 14 days to the person who owns the car, who then has to say who was driving it, or get in a lot of trouble. And similarly, if you've moved house and haven't told the DVLA, or if the car isn't yours. So somebody else who's a good friend of mine was telling me the other day about he'd had something very similar happen. Again, no letter, but he'd done it in a company car, and he was worried about the problem of the letter going to his boss. You can imagine that. That's a tricky situation, isn't it? You're in banning territory. Do you wait 2 weeks and then think, well, I've got to wait a bit longer now, with that element of worry carrying on? Or after the 14 days, do you go to your boss and go, yeah, boss, you haven't had one of these notices who intends to prosecute through, have you? No reason. I just wondered. Anyway, let me know what you think in them there comments. I'm sure there's some people out there who think it's all a money making exercise. I really don't think that. Oh, kite. Red kite. Look at that. I mean, you won't be able to see it on this camera. That's a huge thing. Superb bird. Yeah, you're not going to be able to see it on the camera. Yeah, some people I'm sure will be completely against speeding, think it's all ridiculous, and 41 in a 40, you should be shot. Some people think it's all a money making exercise. I'm sure most of you are somewhere in between, like me. I don't think it's a money making exercise, though if it was, I guess it's a tax that you elect to risk paying. So, it's your own choice, isn't it? But I'd be interested to hear what you say. And I'd also be interested to hear if you didn't know about these new rules, the detail of them, like I didn't until I started investigating. Have they put you off it? It certainly made me think twice about speeding. It certainly made me think 3 times about speeding to the point where you're hitting the banning territory, which banning territory now, 40 miles an hour in a 30 miles an hour in a 20, or 70 in a 60, all banning territory. 80 on a motorway is now banning territory, and £2,500 fine potentially. And I have to say, if I go down a motorway at 70, I'm probably the slowest thing on there. Anyway, thank you for watching, everyone. Ride safe, and I shall talk to you all again soon.